Hi, my name is Shaye. Welcome to my YouTube channel where I yap. I yap. Um, I hope everyone's doing well. Um, I took a bit of a break last week because I needed it after my travels and the videos after that and editing that Tulum vlog or whatever you might call it, video clip that. Oh, we'll talk about that in a minute, but that took a while. That took a lot out of me. And then life in general. I just needed a week off, but we're back. I hope everyone had a good week. So today I wanted to really, like I said in my last video, I have been revisiting the whole intent behind this thing I'm doing and how I had started deviating from the original path, which was to just come on here and free flow, see where that takes me, create a tiny safe space for myself to talk about things on my mind, clear my mind, express myself, explore creativity. And, in typical human fashion, I started doing the thing you do when you're on the, internet. You start to look left, look right. Well, what's everyone else doing? How come no one else doing this? And started going back to, trying to create vlogs, I guess is what that Tulum video was about, which I had said in earlier videos, I knew I wasn't going to be a vlogger. It's just there's a level of commitment that I admire and the people who do it. That's not why I'm here. You know, I'm not here to monetize. I'm not here to influence in the traditional sense, which is like I ain't gonna sell you nothing. There's no links down below. I am just speaking from my heart and for some reason in this season, hey, I rhymed. Did you catch that? For some reason, um, my my being right now feels this is the medium in which I have to do this. That's not to say, like I said, I've been in therapy. I got therapists, I got providers, I'm good. But this is like the equivalent of maybe having a journal, which I also have journals, but some of us just need multiple places to let things out. And this is one of them for me. So I'm back to that. And, you know, recently what's been coming up for me, if you're anything like me, if you didn't catch that, I am a huge Carter family fan. As in, I was a bigger fan of Jay-Z before Beyonce. That's no knock to Beyonce. I love Beyonce. But I have just, Jay-Z and his lyrical ability and his way with words and rhymes have always spoken to me since I was little. And because, like I said earlier, I love books, I love reading, I love words, I love writing. I'm trying to make myself do that. Um, I definitely was a fan of Jay Z. I'm not here to defend any allegations or character questions. That's not. I just sound like the man's work, his creative work, right? And by proxy, not even by proxy. I think before Beyonce and Jay Z got together, I was a fan of Destiny's Child because if you're in my age group, y'all grew up on Destiny's Child, so I love me some Beyonce, right? But I said that to say, so I'm a fan of both. And if you've been following their story, you now know they practically have a family, which is a beautiful thing to watch. Like how they've evolved as individual and collectively as a couple and now a family, right? And she's currently on tour. And I went to the Renaissance tour, which was exceptional. It was great. I was in the rainy day of the tour, one of the several. I think she had like 2 or 3 rainy days, but I still had a great time. In spite of, I had a great time. And that speaks volumes about the kind of performer she is. There's something about the woman. If you don't even appreciate her work, maybe it's not your taste, maybe it's not your aesthetic, the one thing you can't deny if you've ever witnessed her work and her productivity is the level of expertise and dedication it takes to get there. We can only hope to have a fraction of it. So I admire that about her, right? So I went to Renaissance store, had a great time. So Cowboy Carter came around and I was like, you know what, my funds, I'm sorry, it's a recessionary year. I don't care what y'all say, it's a recessionary year. The pockets are tight in 2025. And yes, I said I blew my money in Barcelona, but that's my business, where I put my money. So I didn't want to, this year, go to Cowboy Carter. But like everybody else, I'm on the internet. and you see the clips, and you see the production, and you see, wow, she's changed the set. And the outfits are, they're good, you know? The outfits, the choreography, the new routines. But what stood out for me, because I remember Renaissance was the introduction that we all had to Blue Carter on stage. And how that girl, I mean, there's probably several think pieces that can talk about the evolution of Blue as a public figure, but it is truly sad when people forget, like, these are kids, you know? And the things that have been said and done up until now, where now I guess she has a fan base. Like, I'm glad that is the direction we went, but yet still, let's not forget, when y'all talk nonsense about people's kids, they're kids. They're literally growing up in front of you. And there is a level of innocence you just have to allow. But anyway, again, I'm segueing. We were introduced to Blue at Renaissance. So I am here on the internet. It's like, I ain't gonna pay for Cowboy Cardi. Let me see what's happening. And Blue, if you are, living on the rock somewhere, you didn't know, she showed up. She's been, she's clearly been mastering her art. And she's been working on the dance routines, the form. She even has her own solo routines. And you can tell there's been a refinement of what happened on the last tour. Like, she must have taken all the lessons, all the opportunities, and just coalesced into this level of expertise that we're seeing in a kid. She's not a teenager yet. She's still a kid. And you're just going, wow, that is, it was one of those moments where I thought to myself, we have this narrative, right, about natural born talent. Like, are you born with it? Or, are the people who are born with it better than the people who have to work hard for it? And et cetera, whatever rhetoric we're sold, right? Like, you're born early and you kind of pick a path and that's what you're good at. Or we're told, I remember I was listening to a podcast this past week when this gentleman, and I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he was going on about how you reinforce kids' behavior, right? And how it is truly detrimental when we're seeking to reinforce good things. So, for example, if a kid goes to school and they perform really well and you want to praise them and you go, oh, you're really smart. Like, attaching the praise or the recognition to their identity, he said it's a very dangerous thing in the long term. In the immediate term, it might seem innocent, right? Like, what's wrong with telling someone they're smart or they're beautiful or they're whatever identity you attach that you deem positive? The issue with that is it becomes the identity, right? And we don't recognize the effort. So if they ever get to points in life, which will inevitably happen, or challenges in life that requires them to assert themselves in a different way than they're accustomed to, those kids tend to struggle. And actually, long term, I believe there was surveys or studies done that prove that they actually perform poorer than the other kids who were told effort-based recognition. So, for example, instead of saying you're really smart, saying you really applied yourself, you really stuck with it, that yields over time a kid who not only applies themselves more, but seeks out opportunities to do that. Doesn't just rest on their loins saying, I'm smart, it will always work out. And it resonated with me. And coming back to like Blue, there's a tie-in, I'm tied all in. I was looking at Blue Carter on stage and going, this, again, I don't know them. I don't know the Carters. I'm just a fan. I'm like everybody else in the corner. Like, we like to think we know. But what it seems like on the outside, watching in, is there's been an effort to teach this child certain key life lessons that even most adults don't get later in life. To teach the art of one, not only going out on a public arena, a massive public arena, and taking a risk and being vulnerable and trying something that she clearly wasn't initially naturally, it didn't seem like she was naturally gifted with. If you watch Renaissance, there were moments in those first couple dances where you could call it stage fright, you could call it just takes time, what have you, right? But immediately people are like, oh, she's not, the rhetoric online, because people forget these are kids, right? Was she's not a good dancer, she's not natural, she's not like, it comparing her to adults, and it was just all kinds of nonsense, right? Forgetting this is a kid on a worldwide stage learning something that is incredibly difficult for most of us, if not all of us, right? But even if, whatever, she's not naturally born with it, does that mean she can't get good at it? And that's a general thing we should think about, right? Like, I think as humans, we tend to think if we go try something and it doesn't come like that, and it's not innate for you, and it's not like, you know, the immediate thing, and someone sees that thing and that, oh, you got talent for this. And I've heard people even say that when their kids try to explore artistic thing, like, oh, if they didn't see that when they were a kid, if they didn't see that unique ability, then they just need to go pick a traditional path, and that's the hill you die on, you know? And it was one of those moments where those two things clicked, right? The podcast and watching Blue Renaissance versus Blue Cowboy Carter, and going, that's one of those things they tell you that's a lie. It's a big lie. It's not you're born with it. It really is, you have to decide, this is what I want to do. I want to be exceptional at this, and I want to keep going even when it looks like ridicule, right? Like, everyone's like, and why are you still doing this? And what is this whole thing you're aiming to achieve here? Aren't there easier things for you to do? As long as you've decided you want to master it, you keep showing up and trying and learning from your mistakes and mastering, and, you know, just aiming, seeking to get better. Because I can only imagine watching Blue Ivy on the Cowboy Carter stage, that when this girl is 16, 18, not even 21, can you imagine the kind of performer she will be? She's having experiences that some celebrities haven't even had the chance, right? Because she's having a global tour, working right next to one of the world top performers of our time, having it front and center, like experiencing and living it, learning from the lessons, learning all the behind the stage stuff. Like, you just couldn't create a better masterclass than what she's going through. And yeah, it was just one of those moments that I connected it to. Clearly, if you just apply the effort, even on the days you don't want to, right? The days that you're like, oh man, let me go lay somewhere. Let me go lay somewhere and do something else. If you just even showed up with like 10%, sometimes that 10% that you show up with evolves and grows as you get into the rhythm of whatever it is that you're doing. And you just find yourself naturally performing. And, you know, to tie another very minor, this is a very minor example for me, for example. So lately, I've been trying to up my cardiovascular endurance because, you know, like everybody else, I could do better. We talked about my disdain for gyms, but how I'm also aware that, you know, I need to move my body. It's just reality of the genes I was blessed with. But the weather's warming up, so I decided, I haven't walked where I live. I have not walked around in, prior to me picking this up last week, I've walked around in like since last year, let's be honest, right? Because habits, you know? So I decided that, let me pick this walking thing back up. Let me give myself 30 minutes each day, preferably in the morning, but if I don't get to it in the morning, I'll do it later at night. The first time I got out to walk, and I do live in a somewhat, like, I would say, moderately hilly neighborhood, whew, I was humbled. And I kind of knew my endurance had gone to crap, because when I go up and down a flight of stairs really fast, you know the test. You run up and down the stairs and you're like huffing and puffing at the end. You should probably work on your cardio. I had started sensing that, so I said, let me just do this walk, you know. And I only did like a portion of the distance I used to do frequently, and I was huffing and puffing, and it took me, I think that distance that usually would take me like 15 minutes when I was doing it routinely, took me about a half hour. And I was like, bro, that's, you know, one of those things. But you know what I did? I committed last week that I would do it every day sequentially for like at least 4 or 5 days. By the third day, I noticed two things. I had significantly shaved off time, and because I was enjoying it so much, I had increased my distance. So all of a sudden, I am one of the, speed walking girlies in the neighborhood. but not really doing it for speed or anything like that. But like I said, it's just to get my body moving in a way that's different than what I do on a routine, the bike and Pilates, building up that kind of endurance. And he just got me thinking again. Sometimes, like I said, that walk, when I showed up the first day, I showed up reluctantly with the desire to just stroll. I wasn't speed walking, right? And just telling myself every time I wanted to talk myself out of doing it for the next 2 or 3 days, just go out there and just stroll, resulted in me not only getting into it, but getting better at it. And now it's a routine. So it's sometimes it's just simple as show up. And don't worry about the natural talent, abilities, what you've been told, because a lot of things we're told about what we can and can't do are lies. There are narratives passed down to us from people who were told that as well. Not always malintentioned, but it's just is what they knew. So they teach you what they know. That's just they teach you what they know. They can't teach you what they don't know. That's the reality, right? So just show up. Just show up for you. And showing up is that 10% of just kickstarting. Everything else will come with practice, consistency, sticking to it, etc. And you learn so much about yourself. So that was today's rant. But before I close out, speaking of Cowboy Carter, I am a fan of Rumi. If you don't know who that is Beyonce's younger daughter, and she debuted on this concert, and she has a personality to me. And she's a kid. She's much younger. She's got to be like toddler age. So if Rumi's like what 11, 12, I'm sorry, if Blue is like 11, 12, like Rumi got to be like 8, 9 maybe at most. And she is just a ray of sunshine. She just has, you know what I and it's what I love about kids, right? I talked about in one of my videos about kids and emotions and the rawness of it. Like you could see her on this global stage, witnessing so many people and their response to her. And she's taking it in just like you would expect a kid to, which we unfortunately in these days don't get to see often with kids, just kids being kids and having raw emotions and not being prepped and edited and presented to us. Like she's just a ray of sunshine. She's a ray of sunshine. Like I truly have enjoyed the moments I have seen. I only seen clips because I haven't been to the tour. Somebody want to take me to the tour? I'm available. I'm here, but I haven't been to the tour. So the clips I have seen have really just warmed my heart. And I think most of the internet has a consensus about Rumi is just such a ray of sunshine, such a reminder of just pure, unfiltered, unedited joy exuded on stage. Like just she wasn't, you could tell she didn't PR anything. She was just like, wow, I'm here. And I love that. And I wish one of those traits again, I wish as adults that we could embody more often. All right, just that raw joy and happiness to be here. All right, well, I hope you all have a lovely day. And yeah, we'll see when next I do this. I'm most likely going to do another one this week, but we'll see. We'll see when I get inspired. All right, bye.